All right, let's talk about a virus that probably sounds familiar, but the details might be a little fuzzy now. Zika. It's a name that, for a while, seemed to come out of absolutely nowhere, sparked a huge global panic, and then, well, it just kind of faded from the headlines. Today, we're going to dig into how a virus that was obscure for decades suddenly became a threat to the entire world. So cast your mind back to 2016. It wasn't that long ago. The news was just dominated by this rapidly spreading threat. It was sweeping across the Americas, causing some really widespread fear and kicking off an international emergency. So what was this mysterious illness all about? Well, the culprit was a virus called Zika, and its main partner in crime, the super common mosquito. Yup, that tiny insect became the delivery system for a massive global health crisis. And the story of how that happened, well, that's what we're breaking down right now. Our story really kicks off not with the virus's discovery, but at the exact moment the world woke up and realized just how much danger it was in. The year is 2015, and something really alarming is starting to unfold down in Brazil. So at the peak of the outbreak, around 2015 and 2016, the Zika virus was just spreading with terrifying speed. It was officially confirmed in at least 33 countries and territories all across the Americas. But the epicenter, the real heart of the crisis, was Brazil. And things escalated so quickly that by February 1st, 2016, the World Health Organization, the WHO, had to make this huge declaration. The connection between the virus and this horrifying spike in severe birth defects was becoming impossible to ignore, and the WHO had no choice but to sound the global alarm. Okay, so what is this virus that caused so much chaos? Let's zoom in and take a closer look at the agent behind this whole emergency. So Zika belongs to this family of viruses called flaviviruses. Think of it like a family with some pretty notorious members you've definitely heard of, like dengue and yellow fever. This family connection is a big reason why it's so good at spreading via mosquitoes. But here's the kicker. Here's what makes Zika so incredibly hard to get a handle on. It's a stealth virus. A staggering 80%, 4 out of 5 people who get infected show no symptoms at all. None. This creates what's essentially a silent army of carriers who are spreading the virus without ever even knowing they have it. Now, for that other 20% who do get sick, the symptoms are usually pretty mild. A fever, maybe a rash, some achy joints. But here's the crucial part. The real danger isn't to the adult who gets infected. If that person is pregnant, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. It can lead to severe birth defects, most notably microcephaly, which is a condition where a baby is born with a much smaller head and brain than normal. It really felt like this virus just popped up out of thin air in 2015. But its history actually goes back way, way further. And its discovery, yeah, that was pretty much a total accident. So the story actually starts way back in 1947 in Uganda's Zika forest. You had scientists there studying yellow fever in monkeys, and they stumbled onto something completely new, an unknown virus. And what did they name it after? The forest itself. For more than 60 years, Zika just stayed this obscure, little-known virus with just a few scattered human cases, until 2015 when everything changed. So how did this random virus, just hanging out in a forest for decades, manage to travel so far, so fast? Well, understanding how it's transmitted is absolutely key. The main highway for Zika is the bite of an infected Aedes mosquito. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because this is the exact same species that spreads dengue and chikungunya. It's simple. It bites someone who's infected, it picks up the virus, and then it passes it on to the next person it bites. But this is a huge but. It's not just about mosquitoes. Frighteningly, Zika can also be passed from a pregnant mother to her fetus. It can be transmitted through sexual contact, and in rare cases, even through things like blood transfusions. This direct person-to-person spread just adds a whole other layer of complexity to trying to contain an outbreak. And get this, after a person gets bitten, there's this incubation period that can last anywhere from 3 days to 2 full weeks before any symptoms show up, if they show up at all. That's up to 14 days where an infected person can be traveling, going about their life, and completely unknowingly spreading the virus. So, with a virus this sneaky, this dangerous, especially for pregnant women, how in the world do we fight back? This question becomes even more urgent when you realize one really stark, sobering fact. There is no vaccine to prevent Zika, and there is no specific medicine to treat it. That means our only weapon, our absolute best defense against this thing, is prevention. That's it. It's all we've got. And that prevention strategy is really a two-pronged attack. It takes action on a personal level, what you can do to protect yourself and your family, and it takes action on a community level to bring down the threat for everyone. Okay, so on the personal side of things, the advice is pretty straightforward. You've got to make yourself a harder target for mosquitoes. This means using a good insect repellent, covering up with long sleeves and pants, and creating physical barriers, like screens on your windows or a net over your bed. But look, personal protection is never going to be enough on its own. The entire community has to get on board with getting rid of the places where these mosquitoes breed. See, Aedes mosquitoes lay their eggs in stagnant standing water. So cleaning up that water in things like open buckets, old tires, flower pots is absolutely critical. It's a simple equation. No water, no new mosquitoes. So while the Zika emergency has definitely faded from the front pages, its story is a pretty stark warning. It showed us just how fast a long-forgotten virus can erupt and become a serious global threat. And it leaves us with a really critical question. In our modern world of constant travel and a changing climate, what lessons did we really learn from all this? And maybe more importantly, are we actually prepared for whatever's coming next?